So going forward, we are going to be leaving Genet and going into Ionesco, right? Again, this weekend we have the privilege of being able to see the play Rhinoceros, and we can see a couple of different parallels between what we've seen in the balcony and what we're going to see, in Rhinoceros. I think the number one thing that we understand at the end of this play is that when it comes to reality, when it comes to symbolism, roles and role playing are things that we do throughout our lives, right? When we think about the idea that, Camus tells us that we need to make meaning, right? That in many cases, our lives are all about making the meaning that we want, right? If we lean into this absurd hero business that we've talked about since the beginning of the semester, right? The only way to become an absurd hero is to say that we're not here for anybody else but ourselves. We are making meaning for ourselves, that, the meaning that we assign to ourselves and that we can give out into the world, and it doesn't keep us from being productive members of society, but it does mean that we can't draw our meaning from, right, what other people think of us, right? That basically the balcony, as a play in the theater of the absurd, shows us that these are not necessarily absurd heroes, right? That these are people who are hoping to incarnate a role that they see imbued with value, or that they are hoping that what their symbolism is, right, can become an inspiration for others, right? I mean, the chief of police wishes to, live as a symbol forever, right? That is not necessarily making meaning. That is sort of living within, right, a title. That's living within, right, the essence before, right, it exists. And, we as individuals in society, I think, are called upon to do things very differently, right? We are called upon to make meaning rather than living in a meaning that somebody has made for us, right? Living in a symbol that exists for us, but that there is a constant struggle, right, with doing this, right? That we incarnate roles all the time, right? That we have to make our own meaning in our roles all the time. As an instructor, as a teacher, right, I have an image to uphold, right, as an instructor. Right, can I do this because I know what I'm doing? Well, sure, of course I can, right? But there is certainly, as well, a lot of role play that has to happen, right? Do I always feel super confident in the things that I am presenting to students? Sometimes I don't. And, right, at that point in time, you, again, have to make meaning. You have to take your symbol and sort of imbue it with meaning and go forth, right? Is this bad faith? No, I think that we spend our lives as well trying to figure out how do we lean into the existence that we have, right? How do we imbue our existence with our essence? How do we do this with our free will, right? And with our full, right, agreement that this is who we are and this is what we're going to do, right? If there is, right, role playing, I think it is with the understanding that we freely sort of choose this, and our free choice, right, of these things does allow us to be a better, maybe a better version, right, that we continually improve upon, right, throughout our lives. Now, does this play encourage us to question everything? And is that what we're supposed to take away from this? That nothing is real, everything is fake, everything is, to be questioned? No, I don't think so. But I think it does. I think Genet does caution us against leaning too quickly into a symbol, especially if we don't necessarily believe that it's a real thing, right? That we need to be cautious. We need to be clever about what we do, and we need to be able to take the meaning that we see and really question it for a moment, see what things we're willing to believe and what things we aren't, right? Because certainly we are not being told, right, just simply, you know, question everything and become a revolutionary, but we're also not being told, right, that when fascism shows up on our doorstep, that we simply look at it and say, okay, well, fine, if this is what's here now, this is what we're going to do. And that's where we're going to be going with Rhinoceros, right? We're going to be looking at the way the Rhinoceros allows us to take a look at what's going on around us and start to say, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know about this, right? Rhinoceros is going to be all about a different kind of symbol and a different kind of belief and a different kind of resistance. It's going to present us with a lot of very interesting questions, I believe, right, about what we are willing to accept and what makes us maybe more susceptible to fascism. And the things that might make us more susceptible to it might not be the things that we expect, and they might not be things that we like to think about. If we are sort of straight and narrow people who really like to conform and fit in with society, is fascism a bigger danger to us? I think we're going to see sort of the way that Ionesco answers that question next week. So, again, thank you for, hanging out this week. I know this was a bit of an odd week with, dental work and whatnot, right? Sort of delaying this conversation for a little bit, but I'm glad we're back on track, and I do hope to see those of you who are going to be there on Friday night this week at the play Rhinoceros. I will likely see you there, so please feel free to come up, say hey. I'll probably be there afterwards a little bit if you want to discuss it a little bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. So yeah, until next time.